Hello all, here is a quick revision of poetic devices. So we'll start with alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of a sound or letter at the beginning of multiple words in a series. Examples from In Flanders Fields by John McCrae. Flanders Fields, the F being repeated, Hold It High, the H being repeated, and it's still alliteration with the it in between. And Saw Sunset. So you have aw and un, but the s's are the repetition, even though the sound is different. So a rhyme is a repetition of syllables at the end of words, mostly at the end of a line of poetry. Examples from Dulce et decorum est by Wilfred Owen. Bent double like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge, till on the haunting flares we turned our backs, and towards our distant rest began to trudge. So sacks rhymes with backs, sludge rhymes with trudge, and therefore the rhyming scheme here is AB, AB. You have repetition. Repetition is fairly self-explanatory. It's the process of repeating certain words or phrases, usually used to make the reader pay attention, to drive a message home. Example from But You Didn't by Merrill Glass. Remember the time you lent me your car and I dented it? I thought you'd kill me, but you didn't. Remember the time I forgot to tell you the dance was formal and you came in jeans? I thought you'd hate me, but you didn't. Personification is the attribution of a personal nature or human characteristics to something non-human, or the representation of an abstract quality in human form. Example, I wandered lonely as a cloud, from the poem by the same name by William Wordsworth. Of course, the cloud can't possibly be lonely. So, enjambment, the continuation of a sentence without a pause beyond the end of a line, couplet, or stanza. So examples from the opening lines of The Second Coming and the last verse of The Lake Isle of Innisfree by W.B. Yeats, respectively. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. And I will arise and go now, for always night and day I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore. Metaphor and similes. Simile is comparing two things using as or like. For example, as dangerous as a lion, tall like a giraffe. A metaphor is a figure of speech in which a word or phrase is applied to an object or action to which it is not literally linked, used to describe things that are difficult to define, giving us a way to imagine. For example, she had the heart of an angel, and the Big Bang Theory. The reason why the Big Bang Theory is a metaphor is because there likely was no bang, there was likely no sound, but we can imagine an explosion, whereas the beginning of the universe is a little bit beyond our ability to comprehend. So, allegory is a story, poem, or picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning, typically a moral or political one. Example is a story about two neighbors fighting over where their properties end, could be an allegory for a current war. Allegory versus metaphor. So in general, metaphor is a short phrase or paragraph that compares two seemingly unrelated things to make a point, while an allegory is a long narrative that uses a seemingly unrelated story to teach a lesson or prove a point. Here is a table outlining the differences between allegory and metaphor. One of the most famous allegories is Plato's allegory of the cave. So that's something that might be interesting to look up to demonstrate what an allegory can do. It can be a powerful illustration of a point of view. Okay, and finally we have irony. Irony is a literary device in which contradictory statements or situations reveal a reality that is different from what appears to be true. The effectiveness of irony as a literary device depends on the reader's expectations and understanding of the disparity between what should happen and what actually happens in a literary work. Irony is grouped into two broad categories. The first is verbal irony, an unanticipated response. For instance, stating during a thunderstorm, "Beautiful weather we're having," and perhaps telling a rude customer to "have a nice day." The next form of irony is situational irony, which focuses on unexpected outcomes. For instance, the winner of a spelling bee failing a spelling test. A t-shirt with a Buy American logo that is made in China. And a marriage counselor divorcing his third wife. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. Questions to follow.